In the early 2nd century, the Roman Empire stood at its greatest extent, its borders stretching from the sun-scorched sands of the Arabian deserts to the cold, misty highlands of Britannia. This unprecedented reach was the result of the tireless military campaigns of Emperor Trajan, a man whose legacy was defined by expansion and conquest. Trajan, who came to power in 98 AD, was celebrated for his military prowess and administrative efficiency. He launched a series of bold campaigns in Dacia, modern-day Romania, defeating the fierce King Decebalus and annexing the region into the Roman fold. The conquest of Dacia was immortalized on Trajan's column in Rome, a towering monument that still survives today, etched with scenes of war and victory. Not content with Europe alone, Trajan pushed eastward into the Parthian Empire. His campaigns in Mesopotamia led to the capture of key cities like Babylon and Ctesiphon. Amidst the strains of governing a far-flung empire and growing resistance in the newly acquired eastern territories, Trajan's health began to fail. It was during this uncertain time, in 117 AD, that Trajan named his adopted son and trusted confidant, Publius Aelius Hadrianus, as his successor. Hadrian, better known to history as Emperor Hadrian, would not follow in Trajan's footsteps of endless expansion. Instead, he would become a ruler defined by consolidation, stability, and reform. He inherited an empire at its zenith, but chose not to extend its borders further. Rather, he turned inward, toward building, restructuring, and preserving what Rome had already won. To understand the man behind this dramatic shift in imperial policy, we must return to the beginning. Hadrian was born on January 24, 76 AD, in the Roman province of Hispania, in a city called Italica, located near modern-day Seville, Spain. Although of provincial birth, Hadrian's family was well connected. His father, Publius Aelius Hadrianus Afer, was a Roman senator of Italic descent, and his mother, Domitia Paulina, came from a wealthy senatorial family. When Hadrian was just 10 years old, both of his parents died, and his guardianship was taken up by none other than Trajan, then a rising military commander and family relative. Under Trajan's care, Hadrian was sent to Rome, where he received a traditional aristocratic education in Greek and Latin literature, philosophy, and rhetoric. He developed a deep admiration for Greek culture, an affection that would later define his rule and image as a Hellenistic philosopher king. Hadrian's early career followed the standard path of Roman elites. He served as a military tribune in several legions and steadily climbed the cursus honorum, the sequence of public offices held by aspiring Roman statesmen. His aptitude for leadership and his proximity to Trajan earned him increasing responsibility. By the time Trajan became emperor, Hadrian was already positioned among the inner circle of power. The circumstances of Hadrian's succession are debated. Some ancient sources suggest Trajan adopted Hadrian only on his deathbed, possibly influenced by Trajan's wife Plotina. Despite the uncertainty surrounding his adoption, Hadrian's transition to power was smooth and uncontested. Almost immediately, Hadrian made a controversial decision that would set the tone for his reign. He abandoned the eastern provinces that Trajan had recently conquered. This move was criticized by some Roman elites as unworthy of an emperor, but Hadrian believed firmly in pragmatism over glory. His philosophy of governance was built on consolidation and defense. One of his most enduring legacies is Hadrian's Wall in northern Britain, a massive fortification marking the limits of Roman rule on the island. Stretching over 70 miles across the rugged countryside, the wall was not just a military barrier, but a symbol of imperial restraint and order. It reflected Hadrian's belief that the empire should solidify its gains, rather than endlessly pursue new territory. Hadrian spent more than half of his 21-year reign traveling throughout the empire. Unlike most Roman emperors who ruled primarily from Rome, Hadrian was almost constantly on the move, inspecting legions, overseeing provincial administration, and funding massive public works. His journeys helped unify the vast and diverse empire, reinforcing a sense of Roman identity while respecting local traditions and cultures. His deep admiration for Greek culture earned him the nickname Graculus, or Little Greek, in his youth, and as emperor, he openly embraced Hellenism. He promoted philosophy, sponsored architecture in Athens, and even completed the grand temple of Olympian Zeus. His passion for Greek ideals also extended to personal relationships. One of the most famous and tragic stories of his reign involves Antinous, a young Greek companion whom Hadrian deeply loved. When Antinous died under mysterious circumstances during a journey along the Nile in 130 AD, Hadrian was devastated. He deified the youth, founded a city in his name, Antinopolis, and commissioned numerous statues across the empire. But Hadrian was not merely a lover of culture, he was a capable administrator who restructured the imperial bureaucracy and built a more professional civil service. He reformed the military to maintain discipline and ensure continued loyalty from the legions. He also introduced legal reforms that helped standardize Roman law across the empire's provinces. Despite his accomplishments, Hadrian's later years were marked by increasing isolation and paranoia. He became suspicious of potential rivals and ordered the executions of several senators and military commanders, including 4 prominent figures known as the 4 consulars. These purges tainted his reputation among Rome's elite. His final years were spent in physical and emotional suffering. He developed a debilitating illness, likely heart failure or kidney disease, and became reclusive at his villa in Tivoli, an architectural masterpiece filled with gardens, pools, and Greek-inspired structures. Knowing that he would not live much longer, Hadrian chose Lucius alias Caesar as his heir. But when Lucius died unexpectedly, Hadrian adopted Titus Aurelius Antoninus, better known as Antoninus Pius, on the condition that he in turn adopt Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus. Hadrian died on July 10, 138 AD at the age of 62. Though his ashes were initially denied burial in Rome by the Senate, Antoninus Pius ensured that his adoptive father was honored properly. Hadrian's mausoleum, now known as Castel Sant'Angelo, still stands along the banks of the Tiber River.